We begin with news coming from Nigeria's presidency, where we understand that President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the newly elected president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Afam Osigwe. Tinubu, in a statement signed on Monday by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, assured the new leadership of the NBA of his administration's support in addressing challenges affecting the association and the legal profession in the country. Osigwe is a former general secretary of the NBA, emerged as the president-elect in the 2024 NBA election, which was held online on Sunday. Meanwhile, one of the presidential candidates, Chukwuka Ikwazom SAN, had midway into the election withdraw from the process, which he alleged had been arranged to favor a predetermined outcome. In a statement, Ikwazom claimed that the integrity of the electoral process had been compromised. Joining us to discuss this is a legal practitioner, Taiwo Ojumu. Mr. Taiwo Ojumu, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me.
To start with, how would you describe the person of Afam Osigwe SAN and, of course, his contribution to the justice system in Nigeria? You're a legal practitioner. We'd like to have head-on information about him.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, let me proceed by congratulating the person of Learned Sikh, Afam Osigwe, who just emerged, who is the current president-elect of the NBA. The man is someone that exemplifies the complete gentlemanliness, very gentleman to the core. The man put a lot of work. I mean, without prejudice to the other candidates. I mean, they all went around for campaigns. But Osigwe stood out for many of us. For some of us who are younger than the likes of Osigwe at the bar, he is someone that a lot of us look up to. It's the complete gentleman by excellence, the man who knows his onions. He says what he means what he says, and he says what he means. So that is just long and short of who the personality of Afam Osigwe is, the complete gentleman.
A fellow contender in the race, Chukwuka Ikwazom SAN, alleged that the election was compromised. So would you say there was some sort of anomaly in the conduct of the NBA presidential election? That's the results announced Osigwe as winner.
Well, if you ask me, as typical of most elections in Nigeria, of course, we are not, I mean, some of us who have been keenly following elections in Nigeria, speaking of the bigger elections, talking about presidential elections, and the gubernatorial elections, it is not very unusual for there to be instances of complaints of irregularities here and there. And so I'm not particularly surprised about this coming from Learned Sikh SAN Chukwuka. Now, but for me, by way of personal opinion, I participated in the electoral process, and I do not see anything of sort. But then, for Learned Sikh to have made that kind of grievous allegations, I mean, I'm sure that he has his facts. And of course, I read the letter he wrote to the ECMBA, that is the Electoral Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association, requesting for some documents, and then also asking the body to ensure that they employ the services of an independent audit firm to look through the process. So, like I said, there's no smoke without fire. But by my personal opinion, I think the election was free and fair. I do not think there were much inconsistencies. I mean, if there are inconsistencies and irregularities, I think they are minor. I don't think they were overwhelming enough to actually sway the results of the election. So, yeah, but the coming days, we'll watch as the coming days unfold. Let's see the reaction of the electoral committee in the days to come.
Okay. Well, we know that you will be taking over from Yakubu Mekiowe SAN, and while appreciating the organizers and the contenders after that particular election, he said he's going to see to the protection and promotion of the rule of law. So what are the critical things you would expect Osigwe to address aside his statement as relating to the association first and then Nigeria's judicial system?
Yes. For me, I think one major area in the judicial system that a lot of people, particularly those who are not lawyers, I mean, those out there who they have been complaining, what they have been complaining about basically are some of the inconsistencies in judgments and bench rulings that come out that emerge from the bench or from the judiciary. It appears as though sometimes a politician, a big politician who has some change as well, can just approach the court and then get what we call Jankara ruling, and so the next day another court of coordinate jurisdiction will do the same. I mean, we release another counter ruling, and so these are some of the issues some of us expect Dennis Osigwe to address, because that will serve as some form of, restore the hope of the people in the judiciary. Like the saying goes, the judiciary is the hope, the last hope of the common man. And so, if the judiciary, which is purported, which is arguably the last hope of the common man, is seen to be what's it called? Seen to be unjust, then that there's a big problem. And so these are some of the issues, some of the areas I expect Dennis seek to look into.
All right, thank you so much. I'm Taiwo Ojumu for sharing your thoughts with us on this.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Lekan.
Thank you too. Now we'll move to health matters, where President Bola Tinubu has appointed Professor John Obafunwa as the new Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research. Obafunwa, a renowned expert in anatomic and forensic pathology, will take over from Professor Babatunde Salako on July 24, 2024. With a wealth of experience in research and leadership, Obafunwa has held various positions, including Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University. The president expressed gratitude to Salako for his service and expects his successor to drive research into diseases of public health importance and provide an enabling environment for health research and training. This development aims to further strengthen the health sector. In politics now, the Edo chapter of the All Progressives Congress has urged the State House of Assembly to immediately commence impeachment proceedings on Governor Godwin Obaseki for allegedly threatening to burn down the country. The state chairman of the party, Jarrett Tenebe, said this in a statement in reaction to a video of the governor speaking on the shooting incident that led to the death of Inspector Akono, the police orderly of Senator Monday Okpebolo, last Thursday. This is even as he linked incessant deaths occasioned by alleged intercult fights to state-sponsored extrajudicial killings. Tenebe described the viral video as a melodrama wherein Obaseki threatened to burn down Nigeria if the murderers of Inspector Akono at the Benin City airport are not arrested by the police.
So I won't say much. The rest is up to you. But we just kept quiet last Thursday. If they try what they tried last Thursday, Nigeria will go.
Staying with the judiciary, a federal high court in Abuja has declined to halt all expenditures by Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State pending the hearing and determination of a suit filed by the Martin Amewule-led Rivers Assembly. In a ruling on the ex parte motion moved by Honorable Sebastian, Justice Emeka Nwite ordered that all defendants in the suit be notified of the proceedings. However, Justice Nwite granted another ex parte motion by the plaintiffs to serve the 5th to 10th defendants with the originating process and other applications in the matter through substituted means. The 5th to 10th defendants are Fubara, the Accountant General of Rivers State, Rivers Independent Electoral Commission, Chief Judge of Rivers State, Honorable Justice S.C. Amadi, Chairman of RCEC, Honorable Justice Adolphus Enebeli, retired, and Government of Rivers State. The court has adjourned the case until August 7 for the hearing for the motion on notice. Away from that, the Commissioner of Police in the Federal Capital Territory, Bennett Igwe, has urged residents to shun the planned nationwide protest on August 1. Igwe appealed to residents not to jeopardize the security efforts made by the police, stating that the protest could attract miscreants who might destroy the city. He highlighted the government's efforts in providing good roads and infrastructure and pleaded with residents to act maturely and appreciate the sacrifices made by the police to ensure their safety. Igwe emphasized that the police have lost men in the line of duty and urged residents to honor their sacrifices by not participating in the protest. He assured that the police will continue to provide security if residents cooperate. But I'll tell you that veteran journalist and politician Chief Dele Momodu has commended News Central for its accurate, fair and balanced news reportage. He made the glowing tribute on Monday during a courtesy call on the management and staff of News Central Television at its broadcasting office in Odba area of Lagos. Received by the managing director and editor-in-chief of News Central, Momodu commended the team for their innovation.
Good to see you, sir. Lily Momodu is my name, sir. Even telephone, I doubt if we had telephones then. All these mobile phones we didn't have at the time. But what I want to say is that you have one of the best bosses in the industry. And it comes with not just a vast experience, but a huge exposure from Europe to Africa. And that is very, very important because he has that dual advantage of knowing what operates at the highest level and at our own. We're doing very well now. We can compete with any media anywhere in the world.
You're watching News Central now. We go on a very short break. We'll have more stories for you when we return. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us. We tell you now that the former chief whip of the Nigerian Senate, Mohammed Ndume, says the food palliatives distribution strategy by the federal government is not a sustainable solution to Nigeria's deepening food security crisis. During his visit to Gwoza town, Senator Ndume underscored the urgency for the federal government to prioritize initiatives that encourage farmers to return to their farms. News Central's Umar Karawa completes the report.
Farmers toiling their lands to farm what they will eat in the hinterland Gwoza town in Nigeria's Borno State. A community that recently witnessed a bomb explosion that led to the death of over 32 persons. We spoke to the groom whose wedding day was shattered by the explosion.
Babu attack da ba kawo ba mun taba ji Zambarguza ba kuma bana jin har yanzu Zambarguza. Ko mutuwa zai doke ni a Goza ina so in mutu. An yi noma a daji. In Allah zai sa a kawo lafiya. Bai kamata ma a ce za a ga organization a garin nan su ba da abinci. Gaskiya Goza an bunkasa.
Muna shan wahala babu mun fita ma kullum ana kashe mu ma to duk da haka din ba za mu hakura ba.
We have to need to pray by Almighty God to clear this bad attendant of behaviors of Boko Haram.
The people maintain that they will not retreat and not surrender from going to their farms, but one of their major problems was inadequate fertilizer.
I've already distributed in Gwoza 2,000 bags of fertilizer, 16,000 in total in the 9 local government. 2 trailers that are being given to senators is yet to arrive. The state government is trying to. It has distributed fertilizer to us, but still it's not enough.
The senator supported 4,000 of his constituents with cash and relief materials, charging them not to be troubled by his political setback.
Ya ba mu su taki gashi mun sa amfanin gona kuma gashi yayi kyau. Allah ya saka mishi da alheri.
Fadi gaskiya kuma yanzu ne aka fara kuma yanzu ne al'ummar duniya za su san cewa mutanen Gwoza su gaskiya ne a bakin su.
Abun da ya faɗa din nan duk da tausayin kasar nan ya san yake faruwa. Amma ne a Najeriya dan ka faɗa gaskiya an shirye ka. Ai Gwoza ya san haka kasar yayi.
The local leaders praised Ndume's integrity and urged him to continue fearlessly speaking out for the welfare of Nigerian citizens.
The government should encourage farmers to go back to their farms, provide the enabling environment of them to farm, and this issue of food scarcity, food and hunger will, inshallah, live our, it will come to an end. But if we don't, then it depend on importation. It's not going to. Like now, the federal government donated 740 trucks. That's 20 trucks to each of the local government. That is very good. But if you look at it, we have 27 local government. So it means if you give one truck, 7 local government will not get anything.
The hope now is that more communities in Goza and other parts of Borno State will be resettled and the people supported to pick up the pieces of their lives. In Goza for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Away from that, we tell you that the Dangote refinery is seeking crude oil imports from Libya and Angola due to supply challenges in Nigeria. Devakumar Edwin, Vice President of Dangote Industry Limited, disclosed this in an interview with journalists. The 650,000 barrels per day refinery is also considering other African countries for crude imports, to boost production. Edwin mentioned discussions with Libya and Angola, among others. Previously, the refinery sought crude from the United States and Brazil. This comes after Farouk Ahmed, CEO of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, claimed the refinery's products are inferior. Aliko Dangote, chairman of Dangote Group, has refuted Ahmed's claims, calling for an independent test. Earlier, Abubakar Umar, a financial analyst, shared his thoughts on this development.
Importing those and refinery for those crude oil from Libya, Angola, and other countries, you realize that you'll incur logistical costs, the transportation costs of bringing those crudes. And then the only difference of importing those in the African countries compared to the other ones in the USA, to which the refinery was importing, is maybe you will incur lower transportation costs compared to when he's importing from Brazil and the United States. And then maybe we will have issues of infrastructural limitation, considering African transportation routes regarding those refineries. But on the overall, on the production cost of the refinery, I will say the production cost will actually be significantly lower as compared to when he imported from the US or the Brazil, as the case may be for this kind of thing. But then it's actually a good thing for the refinery to source its product within the continent, in the earliest possible time, because as time goes on, he will be able to get the crude oil from his home country as the time may be.
Relatedly, the Nigerian Senate has found international oil companies operating in Nigeria liable for failure to pay gas flaring penalties as required by the petroleum industry law. During a meeting between oil companies and members of the upper chamber of the Nigerian Senate, the senators requested the oil firms to provide details on their compliance with regulations around natural gas metering and flaring, as well as plans for decommissioning abandoned infrastructure. News Central's reporter Idbalani Yomoni has more details on this issue.
Gas flaring has been a major issue in Nigeria, especially in the oil-rich Niger Delta region. The practice releases harmful pollutants like carbon dioxide, methane, and black carbon into the atmosphere.
Flare gas, we don't have lights, we inhale all these sweets.
To address these issues, under the Petroleum Industry Act passed in 2021, oil firms had to pay $2 for every 1,000 standard cubic feet of gas flared.
There was an issue of gas flaring fund. We are still fighting and agitating for the federal government to release some of these funds for us.
A lot of backdoor of arrears of monies that are supposed to come to NDDC are being withheld, both by the federal government and the IOCs. And therefore, this money should be released.
However, the Nigerian Senate recently accused international oil companies IOC of failing to pay the stipulated fines after perpetrating gas flaring by not complying with the PAI Act.
The IOCs have a backlog of gas flare penalty, as stated clearly by NUPRC. And we want a detailed presentation of that to this committee. Please take note.
We also have historically invested several billions of dollars into gas gathering systems, and we've seen flaring come down by more than 97%.
The Senate also faulted the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission for allegedly aiding the IOCs by not effectively enforcing compliance.
I think, Mr. Chairman, what we need to do, maybe we need to sit down with the NUPRC and discuss with them heart to heart. What are their challenges? Somewhere, somehow, I have an idea that something is not properly been done.
Stakeholders warn that without proper oversight and accountability, the damage from gas flaring is likely to continue, affecting the environment, economy, and livelihoods of local communities. The allegations of non-payment of penalties and continued gas flaring highlight the need for stricter monitoring and enforcement of environmental regulations in Nigeria's oil industry. The wasted gas also represents lost economic benefits that could power industries and households. In Lagos for News Central, Igbalani Omani.
To security matters now, the Ondo State Police Command has rescued all the core members kidnapped by bandits along the Benin-Owo Expressway. Police Public Relations Officer of the state, Fumilayo Dolami, confirmed the release of the victims on Monday. The kidnappers, numbering about 15, armed with AK-47 rifles, were said to have accosted the bus conveying the travelers, who include core members, at about 11 p.m. last Friday at Omialafa village in Ifon, also local government area, and dragged them into the forest. It was also gathered that the driver and one traveler were shot dead by the bandits. We now take you to the north of the continent, where Egyptian authorities on Monday arrested cartoonist Ashraf Omar at his Cairo home after he drew a series of satirical images. This was confirmed by the publication he works with and Egypt's press union. Omar's wife, who was not at their Western Cairo home at the time, said security cameras showed a group of men leading a blindfolded Omar into a vehicle in the middle of the night. It is the second of such arrests this month after journalist Khalid Mamdou was apprehended at his home on July 16 and kept in an unknown location before reappearing before state security prosecutors on Sunday. Union Chief Khalid al-Balshi said there are more than 23 journalists behind bars in Egypt and called for their release. We head to the east of the continent to tell you that Tanzania's Information Minister Nape Nnauye has been fired by President Samia Suluhu Hassan after his controversial comments suggesting election rigging. Nnauye was caught on video saying it would help a fellow ruling member of parliament party member win in the 2025 election using legal, half-legal and illegal methods. Despite apologizing and claiming he was joking, the public outcry led to his removal. This is not Nnauye's first controversy. He made similar remarks in 2015. The opposition has long accused the ruling CCM party of winning elections through fraud and repression. Nnauye's replacement is Jerry Slaa, former Land and Housing Development Minister. The foreign minister was also sacked, with Mahmoud Thabiti Kombo, Tanzania's ambassador to Italy, taking his place. Still in the east, Kenyan officials have appealed for help to find containers of a highly toxic chemical that were looted from an overturned lorry near the capital city, Nairobi. Health officials have warned that sodium cyanide is dangerous and can kill if swallowed or inhaled, even in small amounts, adding that it also poses a major risk to the environment. It is not uncommon in Kenya for trucks to be looted following a road accident. After the lorry overturned late on Saturday, several containers were taken by people who rushed to the scene. The National Environmental Agency urged the public to immediately alert the nearest police station if they spot the containers. Now, I'll tell you that Ugandan opposition leader Bobby Wine said security forces were besieging his party National Unity Platform in Kavule on the eve of the planned anti-corruption march that has been banned by the authorities. The action comes 2 days after President Yoweri Museveni warned that Ugandans planning to take to the streets on Tuesday were playing with fire. Ugandan authorities have frequently cracked down on the NUP and Wine, a pop star turned politician who challenged Museveni unsuccessfully in the last elections in 2021. Wine cautioned his followers, saying as they march to Parliament to protest tomorrow, they should be aware that the regime is ready to shed their blood to stay in power, but this should not scare anyone. We now head to South Africa, where the police, alongside the Hawks, over the weekend arrested 2 farm owners and 2 Mexican nationals in intelligence-driven operations at a farm in Limpopo. This comes in the renewed war against drugs in the country. On Monday, the 4 accused appeared before Globesdale District Court following the arrest in Globesdale, where a multi-million clandestine laboratory was discovered. The police raided the farm after receiving a tip-off and found large quantities of chemicals used to make illicit drugs, including acetone and crystal meth, estimated at the value of 2 billion rand. The Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation has, since the beginning of this year, uncovered 10 clandestine drug laboratories and made 34 arrests, apart from this recent one. The case against the 4 accused who appeared in court was postponed to August 1, 2024, while investigations continue. To discuss this, we are joined by Colonel Katlego Mogale, Hawks national spokesperson. Thank you so much for joining us, Colonel Mohale, to talk about this.
Good evening.
Can you please confirm the details of the drug bust? What is the scope of the syndicate's operation and how long has it been active?
At this stage, we cannot say that it is a syndicate. The investigation, it's fairly at its earliest stage, but we can confirm that 4 males were arrested. 2 of them are of Mexican origin, and 1 is the farm owner, and the other one is a businessman from Johannesburg.
So now, how does this narrative, when we look at the bust, fit into the larger picture of a drug-related crime, especially in Limpopo?
Proliferations of drugs and drug trafficking is a fairly serious problem, not only in South Africa, but worldwide. And the South African Police Service, as well as the DPCI, we are working tirelessly together so that we can combat the scourge of drug trafficking.
Now, I'd like to also find out how prevalent is drug trafficking in South Africa. I know that, according to what you've said, efforts are ongoing to actually deal with such vicious acts in the country. But then when we look at drug trafficking as an activity being perpetrated by people or maybe youth in the country, how would you describe it, and what measures are being taken, if we are going to be categorical, to actually disrupt and dismantle other drug syndicates operating in the country?
Drug trafficking is a challenge. We have seen only this past week, on Thursday, there were an arrest effected in the Western Cape, where they also seized large consignment of drugs, as well as the incident on Friday in Limpopo. There is operations that are conducted regularly in order to combat, as well as routine patrols that are conducted, roadblocks, so that transports in any mode are searched and that these drugs do not reach their destination.
So are you actually expecting more arrests on this particular case?
Most definitely, we are not ruling out the possibility of arresting more people in relation to the case. And today also, one suspect of Mexican descent was arrested at the same farm.
Before I let you go, we understand that, of course, this particular case involves Mexican nationals. Is it worrying that you have foreign nationals being involved in such acts in the country? Because we know that South Africa is a tourist destination for so many people from different parts of the world. But then when we have situations like this, how concerning is it for the South African Authority? And, of course, what are the ways to deal diplomatically with such issues?
It's of great concern, but there is measures in place in order to cooperate with other law enforcement agencies outside the country.
All right, thank you so much, Colonel Katleho Mohale, for talking to us about this.
Thank you, sir.
Still in South Africa, the movement of the accused in the Senzo Mayewa trial in South Africa as calls between them are again coming under the spotlight as the trial resumed this morning at the Pretoria High Court. Vodacom's forensic liaison supervisor Pinky Vitlingam is back on the witness stand. So far, the alleged shooter has been placed near the hostel in Vusluis on the day of the soccer star's murder, less than 2 kilometers from Mayewa's then-girlfriend Kelly Kumalo's home. 5 men are currently standing trial for the murder of Bafana and Orlando Pirates football star. Earlier, Elton Hart, attorney at the University of Johannesburg's Law Clinic, spoke to us on this.
In the vicinity when the alleged offense, when the offense occurred, so that they can say on the circumstances available to court that they can be tied, because previous evidence that they presented, where they said one of the accused persons had a gold teeth, and then later on the dentist came and said, but this guy never had dental surgery. So placing the accused on the scene, the cell phone evidence becomes then critical to show that they were within a 2-kilometer radius from the crime scene. And that is important, but also the defense can use this information to their advantage if they understand exactly how the cell phone triangulation works. And you could already see by the cross-examination that they're already on that tangent to make sure that how these signals work and how the signals bounce off from one tower to the other, depending on certain...
From other continents, we'll tell you that the United States Vice President Kamala Harris has praised President Joe Biden's legacy as unmatched in modern history. At the White House event, Harris praised Biden's accomplishments, saying he has achieved more in one term than most presidents do in two. Her remarks come after Biden withdrew from the 2024 presidential race and endorsed her candidacy. The vice president's statement highlighted Biden's significant achievements, including his efforts to address climate change, reform the criminal justice system, and strengthen the economy. Her comments aim to bolster her own campaign and align herself with Biden's popular legacy.
Legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office.
In business, as central banks across Africa grapple with the delicate balancing act of taming inflation while supporting economic growth, financial analysts and economists are closely watching for indicators that might shape upcoming decisions. Today, we actually dived into the critical monetary policy decisions shaping the economic landscapes of Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya on the show Business Edge, when Dumebi Oluwole, senior economist at STARS, shared our forecast on the possible direction after the latest MPC meeting of the apex banks in the various countries.
I've mentioned here, inflation expectations, output growth, exchange rate and exchange rate expectations. Their overall goal definitely would be to ensure that they help stabilize prices and ensure that output growth does not decline even further beyond what we currently are experiencing, because growth is already very sluggish. They will want to support output growth and ensure that inflation also declines substantially towards their target of around 21.4% by year end. But primarily, we also need to remember and remind ourselves that inflation in Nigeria is primarily driven by structural issues that definitely sit within the purview of fiscal authorities. And interest rates increasing substantially is not a one-time fix, for solving Nigeria's inflation woes. So what this means is that the fiscal authorities, despite the measures that they're already putting in place, they really need to do a lot more in terms of addressing issues that are impeding Nigeria's agricultural productivity so that food prices can significantly decline. And then
we also tell you that the Central Bank of Nigeria has directed all banks and other financial institutions to transfer all dormant accounts, unclaimed balances, and other financial assets to its dedicated accounts. A circular released and signed by its acting director of the Financial Policy and Banking Regulation Department, John Onabanjo, said all dormant accounts and unclaimed balances with banks for at least 10 years will be warehoused in a dedicated account known as the Unclaimed Balances Trust Fund Pool Account. The Apex Bank added that the funds from dormant accounts and unclaimed balances may be invested in Nigerian Treasury bills and other government securities. Again, on today's Business Edge, Nabila Mohammed, research analyst at Chapel Hill Denham Securities, explained what will happen to the funds.
By the Central Bank of Nigeria is backed by law. I just want to put that out there, that they are not going contrary to what the law provides or what the law states. And if we want to dissect this particular circular, we should understand that the banks or other financial institutions are in the business of taking deposits, which they intend to keep for the depositors for as long as that depositor wants to keep that particular financial assets with them. Now, it's also the prerogative of it's also the responsibility of these banks to make sure that these accounts do not become dormant or inactive. In other words, they would have to make sure they constantly keep in touch with the customers. Now, this particular guideline just stipulates that if peradventure there are accounts or unclaimed balances or assets held by these banks that have been inactive or dormant for over 10 years, that's for 10 years and beyond, these funds should be moved to CBN. The next burning question that people would want to ask and understand why is, what will CBN do with these funds? The circular clearly states that these funds will be invested in
In sports, the Nigeria Premier League side, Remo Stars, have handed Ghanaian duo Daniel Akambek and Frank Mawena contract extensions ahead of their first preliminary round fixture in the CAF Champions League against AS FAR of Morocco, slated for August. Akambek was given a 2-year extension, while the details of Mawena's new deal are unknown. The 2023-2024 season runners-up are bolstering their squad ahead of their continental campaign, as well as the 2024-2025 Nigeria Premier Football League campaign set to begin on August 31. We also tell you that Aston Villa have signed Belgian midfielder Amadou Onana from Everton in a £50 million deal. The 22-year-old played every minute of Belgium's Euro 2024 campaign and now has the opportunity to represent Villa in next season's Champions League. Onana joined Everton from Lille for £33 million in 2022 and made 72 appearances for the Toffees, scoring 4 goals. Onana becomes Villa's 8th signing of the summer transfer window after the arrivals of Ian Matson, Enzo Baranecchia, Samuel Ealing Jr., Ross Barkley, Lewis Dobbin, Cameron Archer, and Jaden Filigini. Great Britain's most successful Paralympian, Sarah Story, will be participating in her 9th Paralympic Games, and that was after she was named on Monday in the 23-strong cycling squad for Paris 2024. The 46-year-old made her debut as a swimmer in Barcelona in 1992, aged 14, before switching to cycling in Beijing in 2008. She won a record-breaking 17th Paralympic gold in Tokyo in 2021 in the C4-5 road race to move 1 gold ahead of Mike Kinney and become Great Britain's most decorated competitor. Unlike in her previous games as a cyclist, Story will not compete on the track and will instead focus on the time trial and road race events which will take place in Clichy near Paris. She's joined on the team by fellow Tokyo gold medalists Kadina Cox, Jodie Kundi, Jacko Van Gass and Ben Watson. And that's all on the news at this hour, but before we go, we'll take a look at some of our top stories. The All Progressives Congress has called for Governor Obaseki's impeachment after a controversial statement. Police rescue corps members, others kidnapped in Ondo State. We also told you that Tanzanian Information Minister Nape Nnauye sacked after Paul Reagan remarks. Do send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Arvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.